Life is full of celebrations, birthdays, holidays, life milestones, and so much more. And who has been helping generations of families celebrate these events? Our friends at Dewey's Bakery. And even if you aren't planning for something in the near future, you don't have to wait to enjoy something savory and delicious from Dewey's. Maybe you just need something to get you through your Mondays. Drop by every Monday for a free Cake Square Day. No purchase necessary. Just come celebrate the start of a new week. So, if you're hearing this ad on a Monday and you're in your car, reset that GPS and get to one of their 3 Triad locations immediately in Winston-Salem at Thruway and Renolda Manor, plus one in Greensboro at Friendly Shopping Center. And any day of the week, you can find the perfect item with fast and easy ordering options at local.deweys.com. Plus, Dewey's does so much to help celebrate our community. To date, they've given back over $4 million to local schools, churches, and other nonprofits. Your next celebration isn't complete without something special from Dewey's Bakery. Dewey's. Celebrate every day.
This is the Triad Podcast Network.
I'm Algenon Cash, and you're locked in. Tourism isn't just weekend fun. It's an economic development strategy. Today, I'm joined by Stephanie Pace Brown, President and CEO of Visit Winston-Salem. We'll dig into how visitor spending strengthens small business, talent attraction, downtown vitality, and quality of life for residents, and what it takes to convert amazing experiences into sustainable growth for our city. I want you to help me welcome Stephanie Pace Brown with Visit Winston-Salem. Stephanie, thank you for locking in. How are you?
Great, Algenon. Thank you for having me. Great to be with you today.
Yeah, well, you are still somewhat new to town, as they would say, and you also are new to my show, so I know my audience will enjoy getting to know you and learning more about you and just learning about the great work you're doing to showcase Winston-Salem. So thank you for making time for today. But I guess to get started, so we give the audience a little bit of context, talk a little bit about how you found yourself here in the big city of Winston-Salem.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be back in North Carolina and here in Winston-Salem. I've been involved in tourism promotion for my whole career, kind of starting with some national attractions. Most recently, I led tourism development for Asheville and, saw a lot of success there. And I had moved into some consulting work doing market and economic research for big tourism brands around the country and received a call from a recruiter asking me if I'd be interested in interviewing for Winston-Salem. And immediately loved that idea, was happy to come back to North Carolina, and I've been here for about 2 years now.
Well, I got a chance to meet you last year through our good friend Lou Baldwin, who does so much great work here in town. So so grateful for that. And my audience might recall that we've had Mayor Esther Manheimer from Asheville has been on the show before. So she's also a good friend. And I think some of the work that you and so many others were able to do in Asheville has just been tremendous. So now that you find yourself in Winston and you say you've been in tourism your entire life, so you've been around it for a very long time, what are you most excited about here in Winston? What do you think are some of the strengths that we have when it comes to tourism?
I think we're in that great spot where we have a lot of strengths and a good foundation to build on. And also have a lot of opportunity to grow. And, we have cultural assets, wonderful special events, the base of visitation that comes with, having wonderful universities in our community. But I also, feel that with promotion and reaching more people, we can put more eyeballs on our advertising and attract more people to our community to, grow the customer base for our local businesses. So that's what I'm most excited about. We're coming off a fiscal year with really great growth of 10%, more than doubling the growth rate across the state. And so I think that demonstrates how much room there is to get our message out and bring people to our city.
Yeah, I was grateful to join you all at a little celebration you had at Wise Man Brewery not too long ago. So congratulations on all the great work. And I think, Stephanie, the thing that probably drew me into you the most and wanted you to come share commentary with us today is that I really love the way you look at tourism as more of an economic development generator. And you talk about the impact that it can have on our small businesses and so forth. Many people, including myself, until we've had some of these conversations recently, are not totally familiar with how visitor and tourism impacts our economy. I guess just in plain terms, help us understand how that tourism dollar ripples through the local economy and touches our hotels and restaurants and stores and all the various businesses.
Yeah, I think that's still a story that people are becoming familiar with here in Forsyth County. But um, visitors spend $1 billion a year. Like that's money coming from outside of our immediate economy. And that generates $72 million of state and local tax revenues that helps to pay for services and facilities that, we want as local residents. The reason that I'm so passionate about tourism development is the impact that it has on local businesses, and supplements that naturally occurring spending that happens in a community from local residents, and gives it a boost. And then that in turn gives us more things to enjoy as locals than we would, if we were just dependent on our local spending by residents. Tours of the $1 billion that's spent, about a third of it is in food and beverage. I know, near and dear to your heart, and a third is in transportation. Only 20% is in lodging. And, lodging, the tax on lodging that visitors pay to hotels is what funds our activities. That investment that's made in one sector is really benefiting a wide range of local businesses.
That's good insight. I would have thought that the ratios were a little different than that. Like maybe the bigger piece of the pie would be the hospitality lodging part of it. But yeah, I mean, no matter where you go, the first question you always ask is like, where to go? Where should I go eat? I mean, so I think in every city, every town across America, that's like the number one question you get when you arrive. So I think that's really, really cool. How do you all make sure that our locally owned restaurants, bars, breweries, distilleries, wineries, you name it, how do they sort of get to the top of the list? Nothing against
Yeah.
Chili's, nothing against Applebee's, but we want
Yeah.
to support Mission Pizza.
Yeah, well, good old marketing and also media relations. Our team works with journalists around the country. In our last fiscal year, the stories that were placed through our efforts reached 1 billion impressions. And so, that's free advertising for all of the local restaurants and wineries and breweries and attractions and retailers who were included in those stories. Those stories are not about Visit Winston-Salem. They're about our local businesses and local organizations. And, so when you have Southern Living coming in to do a story about Christmas, we bring those writers in, we pay for their lodging, we curate their trip, we escort them around and help tell their stories. So, we become the local experts, and, we know the story of Mission Pizza, and we know the story of Bobby Boy, and on and on and on. So that when we're working with journalists, we can really enrich their understanding, and not just traditional media, but also influencers have become, a really important part of the mix. And, we actively host more than a dozen influencers, in addition to travel writers throughout the year. I'll give you a great example. We just applied for a Good Housekeeping Tourism Seal of Approval, and hosted, their editor a couple of weekends ago, and she just loved Winston-Salem. And so,
That's cool.
we're really hopeful that we'll get to have that stamp of approval from Good Housekeeping for Winston-Salem tourism soon.
No, that's great work. I was with a group of small business owners this past Friday talking about our downtown economy, and the way you explained it is exactly how I was explaining it to them. It's like this like three-legged stool that's made up
Mhm.
of residents that live here, tourism, the events that are coming in, and then obviously our corporate interest as well have a lot to do with downtown. And I think you're right. I mean, when I go around and talk to the downtown restaurant owners and bar owners, when there's something in town, the energy is high, the vibration is high, everyone's so excited, and the servers are making money. Everyone's just so thankful. But when there isn't something in town, we feel the pressure of that, which I know that we've got to work harder to get our residents coming back downtown as well. How does the CVB, how does Visit Winston-Salem communicate with all these various downtown interests so that they are aware of what's coming into town and properly prepared?
For many, many years, Visit Winston-Salem has distributed a monthly calendar. And, so we distribute, a day by day schedule of all of the things that we're aware of, either because we booked that group to meet at the Benton, or there's a special event in town. And so, tourism's a team sport, right? Everybody from the front lines to the backroom sales and marketing people are, welcoming visitors, and we want people to be prepared for those influxes, but we also want more of those days, when we're vibrant and busy. And so, our work is kind of in two buckets. The first is creating that solid foundation of group business. People who are meeting at the Benton and in meeting rooms in our hotels, or they're coming in for organized sports events, and those create those fluctuations that, people are familiar with. And then our marketing to target leisure visitors, fills in and smooths those gaps. And that's the part that, we really have just launched in a major way and are seeing big returns.
Well, I will say that while we continue to reimagine our city and our downtown and make adjustments and make upgrades, I think the work that you're doing at Visit Winston-Salem is absolutely critical because you all really, really are supporting and undergirding the downtown economy right now. And I just want to say, in case no one else has said it, I want to make sure I say that I greatly appreciate the work that you all are doing. You all have a strategy or brand called Twice as Nice. I actually didn't know much about this until I came to the reception that you recently did. But how do you engage with our community to help people, just ordinary people, understand what that brand is all about? And then also, how do you actually measure the impact of that brand strategy in terms of visitation and some of the things that you're talking about today?
Well, those are great questions. On the partner and community engagement side, we've really embraced getting people together. And so, Amy DeLuz is spearheading our efforts to, be out and about and meeting with people and inviting them to enhance their listing on our website, which is free, and come to events. We've been doing a series of educational events for folks, plus social, because we need to be a team. And to be a team, you need to know each other. And so we've been hosting a number of those events. On the measurement side, and how do we know it's working? That there's just a whole world of metrics behind marketing and advertising, but I can tell you kind of maybe one of the ones that is the easiest to understand is, the year before that I came 2 years ago, our website had about 200,000 visitors. Our last fiscal year, we had 2.2 million. Same level of investment. So how do we do that? Clearly we're reaching more people, and it's twofold. I think our messaging, we're always working to make our messaging as effective and impactful as possible, but also using the best technology to reach people through, multi-channeled advertising resources. And we're measuring all of that constantly. When we shifted from Look Forward, Travel Back to the Twice as Nice campaign, the engagement with our ads jumped 125%. And so that helps us understand that message is resonating, in addition to, measuring all of the impressions and the number of people that we reach. But, that's how we're putting Winston-Salem on the map and shaping people's awareness and impressions of us in a way that's motivating to come visit.
There's nothing like summertime here in the North Carolina Triad. And when it comes to the season's can't-miss events, at the top of the list is the Coal Pit Live Music Series at Incendiary Brewing in downtown Winston-Salem. And this year, our wonderful partners at the Ginther Group are proud to sponsor it to help provide unforgettable fun all summer long. The 2025 schedule begins on May 31st and runs all the way through Incendiary's 7th anniversary party on September 13th. If you visit theginthergroup.com or follow them on Facebook and Instagram, you'll be able to see the details on every upcoming show, along with any special promotions. Again, a huge shout out to the Ginther Group Real Estate for sponsoring this year's Coal Pit Live series at Incendiary Brewing. And a great way to join us in helping to say thank you, just keep them in mind for all your real estate needs. It's one simple phone call, 336-283-8689, or just one simple click to theginthergroup.com. It's time to get serious about your financial future. It's never too early, but it could be too late to get started. And that's oftentimes the hardest part, getting started. How much do I save? Where do I invest? Do I save for college or retirement? How much for each? And who do I talk to about it all? Okay, we'll keep things simple for now and help you answer the last one. We recommend you begin with a local financial advisor, and that's Jennifer Johnson of Three Magnolias Financial Advisors. She'll sit down with you for a complimentary introductory consultation and go over all of your questions. Get started on the path to achieving your financial goals. Visit threemagnoliasfinancialadvisors.com or call 336-701-1600. Get comfortable with your financial future. Three Magnolias Financial Advisors, retirement, financial planning, and investments. Securities offered through Private Client Services, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Three Magnolias Financial Advisors. Three Magnolias Financial Advisors and Private Client Services are not affiliated. Private Client Services is under separate ownership from any other named entity.
You know, you say tourism is a team sport. I like the way you framed that. And, one of my first jobs was I was the bartender at the Cherry Street Bar inside the Adams Mark Hotel. And I used to have an opportunity to interact with so many different people that were coming in and out of our city, whether it was they were there for a conference. Oftentimes people might have came into town thinking about setting up a business or creating a business here in Winston-Salem. But as the bartender, as that server, as that hostess, you're on the front line of tourism, in my opinion. And I used to always, my bar manager used to always say to me, hey, that person's impression of the entire city starts with you. And if you say Winston-Salem sucks and there's nothing going on in Winston-Salem, that's the tone you set with that person that's now visiting our city. It's almost like you have a guest over to the house. And so they used to really work with us. They wanted us to be prepared and able to really sell the city. I'll be honest with you, Stephanie, I don't necessarily see that in today's time. I don't see that level of unity amongst our service industry, especially when you look at downtown. So how do we get that segment of how do we get them on the team? Because I think you're right. It is a team sport.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's really a lot of individuals, isn't it? And, and it's a matter of, showing our community pride. So, I mean, all we can do is, keep talking to people, keep engaging people. I'll give you an example of some, really impressive radical hospitality. One of our team members this morning was getting gas on the way to work. And there was a woman at the gas station who was really lost and trying to get to the hospital and was from out of town. And this team member invited this woman to follow her. She drove her, to the hotel or to the hospital. And then the woman's like, wow, people in Winston-Salem are so friendly. And we hear that all the time. And, and we are. And, regardless of, the desire to always want to make things better, I think Winston-Salem at its core, is a really friendly Southern city full of hospitality. I hear it from people. I hear it from the journalists and guests that we have in town. The North Carolina Motor Coach Association was here last week, just having a wonderful time. And, the hospitality community really rolled out the red carpet. And, that's who we are. And I don't think that's really changed. So
I think you're right. I mean, my grandmother used to say, you don't have to let the guests know what we were talking about before they got here. So I do think we do a great job of showing that level of hospitality and that kindness and just that Southern appreciation that I think is so well known throughout the South. We've talked a lot about downtown. I want to shift a little bit. We've got other segments of our community that oftentimes feel like they're left out from these conversations, left out from some of the things that are happening, specifically the east side of town. So we know downtown has all these great things and Old Salem and museums and bike paths and strollways and all these things that we can sell and talk about. But how do we make certain that tourism is totally inclusive? How do we also make sure we're selling the historical aspects of Northeast, Southeast, and East Winston?
Yeah. Well, and and our work goes beyond those neighborhoods. We represent the whole county. And so, part of it is outreach and, dedicating resources to meeting people and inviting them in. And I'd say, to anybody who's listening, if you have a tourism related business and you haven't connected with us, please raise your hand. Being part of what we do is free. And the more that we know, about all of these individual places and businesses, the easier it is, to help promote them. We are developing sections on our website over the next year as part of our content calendar for the townships and cities and neighborhoods, so that people can easily, navigate all of our resources. But, we think of it as one Winston-Salem. And, when we can attract people through maybe an interest in a major attraction and then pull them through the funnel, through social media highlights, through blogs on our website, through great listings content, then it helps you discover that thing that you weren't aware of. Or we bring a travel writer to town and we're helping them see the undiscovered things. So, our work certainly is not limited to downtown. We've done features on neighborhoods and other areas. We just actually did a feature on developing the Renolda shopping district,
Hmm.
from the West End to Renolda Village to help, gain appreciation and raise awareness for all of the boutiques that, are along Renolda Road. So,
Well, I love the fact that you seem to have that expanded awareness and thinking because we do as a city. And I'm also I take a lot of heat for it too because I get so stuck on downtown, and I do love downtown and care a lot about downtown. But on the east side of town, we've got some incredibly black-owned restaurants and businesses, places like Taste of Triad that just does a tremendous job. I look to the south side of our community and just what our Hispanic population and that culture has been able to create and build. I mean, if you truly, truly want authentic Hispanic food, you're not going to get it downtown. Sorry, Juan. You're going to have to go to the south side because that's where it is. So I think the more we can bring some of that in, that's just incredible. I was downtown. I'm always downtown. I live downtown, but I was walking downtown the other night, really, really late at night, and just strolling through downtown. I mean, it was really late, Stephanie. I was coming off of a date, and we went and walked the new walkway, the new bridge that just opened, and so we were just checking out downtown. And as we walk downtown, not one time that we get encountered by anyone, or there's nothing that happened, or we didn't have to grab our bags and duck in anywhere.
yeah.
But there is this perception sometimes that there's a public safety issue. Does that bleed over to what you do day to day as well through tourism?
We haven't seen really any indicators in our social media feeds or pushback from writers or groups that we're working with. We acknowledge that it's a concern for members of the community. I think the more vitality that we can bring to downtown, either by locals coming downtown or the more visitors that we can have, you know, I think that helps, in a way that, it brings more people, more feet on the street, more,
Yeah.
just more activity. And I think that's part of safe cities and, and an engagement. I think our police department is doing a really good job at, trying to connect with people. And so, yeah.
No, you're right, and I haven't heard that what you just said. I haven't heard that in a long time here, but you're absolutely right. The more activity you have in any area, in any neighborhood, in any submarket, that is going to be a natural deterrent from public safety issues, and I think you're spot on there. So, guys, if you're listening, if you're looking for a cheap date idea, it doesn't cost you anything. You just come downtown late at night, look at the lights, take a walk along the strollway. You'll certainly thank me later. Stephanie, I'm running out of time, but I do want to work in one other question. We talked a lot about how tourism is impacting our local economy. With some of the work that you all do through your efforts and actions, does it start to also have an impact on our corporate recruitment? I mean, is it
Oh, 100%.
possible that you get that CEO of a middle market company out in California and all of a sudden they came in through Visit Winston-Salem, now they want to bring their company here?
Our work is to increase awareness and enhance the reputation of Winston-Salem. And we're trying to motivate tourism, but of course, anybody that, sees our advertising or reads a story in a major national publication that we've helped to curate, that's good for every aspect of economic development. And we know that people who see tourism advertising think of places as a better place to do business, a better place to go to college, a better place to retire. And so, it all works hand in hand. Starts with a visit, might end with a corporate relocation.
No, I think you're right. I tell people oftentimes, I think the people or the companies that are most likely looking at Winston-Salem, they don't necessarily call the Commerce Department first. They don't call the chamber. They don't call the mayor. I think they come visit like a normal, ordinary person, and they try to get a feel for our culture and our vibe and what's going on here. And if we can, that's like, to me, if we can get that part right, that just ensures our corporate recruitment success much later down in the pathway.
And none of it happens unless people know that we exist. And the more that they know that we exist and we can shape a positive image for the community, the better we are at all of those objectives.
Well, Stephanie, I appreciate everything that you and I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to your partner in crime, Brandy Evans, as well, who's the head of marketing over at Visit Winston-Salem. But we thank you for making sure people actually know that we exist. That's a great way to put it. People need to know you're here. Before we get ready to go, we're in the summer, and anything special, anything big coming up this year, anything in the pipeline that we ought to be aware of?
Oh gosh, that's always such a hard question. That we're looking forward to the launch of the Black Theater Festival for next year, but we're coming into football season with both Wake Forest and Winston-Salem State University. Bookmarks is a huge driver of out-of-town visitation. And of course, tonight I'll be at the Winston-Salem Open, mingling with folks from all over the country who are here to see world-class tennis.
No, I know that's going to be a lot of fun. Stephanie, again, thank you for just representing our community and our city so well. Thank you for being here to share all this commentary with my audience. So, to my audience, if you value conversations that turn ideas into impact, please support our work. Your donation helps us spotlight local innovators, share practical playbooks with small businesses, and convene partners who move Winston-Salem forward. You can always reach out to me if you'd like to make that donation. I always appreciate you all being with me and locking in with me. Make sure you stay locked in to WTOB, because every Sunday morning, that's where you can lock in with me. But until next time, I hope you are subscribed to the podcast. You can get that on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you like to get your favorite podcasts. You can always lock in there. And until next time, y'all stay locked in.
Hey, thanks for listening to this episode on the Triad Podcast Network. Our mission is simple: provide information, advice, and stories about the people and places that make the North Carolina Triad such a great place to be. You can find us by searching Triad Podcast Network on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much wherever you like to listen. If you like what you heard and want to support the show and those that contribute, we would truly appreciate a rating and review on your favorite podcast app. It helps spread the word along, as do your shares on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Triad Podcast. To get in touch with us, simply email info@triadpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.
This is the Triad Podcast Network.